that first 2 weeks of eating nothing but potatoes taught me way more about changing my relationship with food.
G'day folks, welcome to Spud Fit. Thank you for joining me again. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about learning. So I spent 4 years studying to be a teacher, and I learned a lot, and I spent a lot of time doing practical work and doing research assignments and all sorts of things. Spent a lot of time in classrooms with kids, helping kids to learn, watching other expert teachers do their thing. And it was all good. It was a good learning experience. I did learn a lot about education, about how the brain works, how the mind works, how people learn best, and it was all very useful information. But I learned a lot more in the first 2 weeks as an actual teacher in charge of my own class with a group of students looking to me and me only as the one to guide them through that subject. It was a big deal. I'd spent 4 years at university, and that 2 weeks of actually doing the job and being there in front of the kids and having to help them figure it out and me figuring it out along with them, that was far more educational than 4 years at uni could ever be, I think. And I think it's a similar situation with changing your life, changing, especially in my experience, with the way that I changed my own health. I lost weight, I dealt with my food addiction, I totally changed my relationship with food, and I feel like I created a whole new person. Maybe not a whole new person, that's a bit dramatic, but I definitely changed myself and I changed my life, and I look at the world and my own place in it very differently. Now, I'd been overweight for a long time. I spent a lot of time reading books, watching lectures online, reading research papers, listening to podcasts, going to nutrition conferences. I'd done that. I had listened to guest speakers in certain places, and I got no idea how many hours I spent on trying to learn more about nutrition, because I just felt like I had this problem with my weight, problem with my health. I wasn't happy about it. And as a teacher, I always felt like I just need to learn more. I just need to understand this more. There must be a gap in my knowledge somewhere. I need to read this new book. I need to watch this new lecture. I need to keep on top of what the science is saying, and I need to make sure that I'm really just filling myself up to the brim with knowledge about nutrition, and it didn't work. I kept on looking for the next bit of information that would finally fill that little gap in knowledge that I didn't know that I had, but I knew it must have been there somewhere. There's a gap in knowledge that needs to be filled. And if I can finally find the bit of information that will fill that gap, then everything will be better, and I will finally get control of my weight and my health and my relationship with food and everything. It was a simple equation to me. So I just kept on going and going, reading the next book, listening to podcasts, doing all that stuff, and it never got me anywhere. Well, I shouldn't say it never got me anywhere. It was good to know all that stuff. It was worthwhile knowing. But I wasn't able to actually put it into action. And I finally realized when I eventually did this, came up with this potato-only Spud Fit challenge idea. Actually, I didn't realize it then. I realized not when I came up with the idea, but once I started, that a similar thing happened. That first 2 weeks of eating nothing but potatoes taught me way more about changing my relationship with food and getting healthy and eating well, and how everything around that taught me way more than I had learned in my previous years and years of trying to keep up with all the latest knowledge and research. It was a massive eye-opening experience. It taught me so much about the way I think about food, the way I relate to food. It taught me so much about how to handle cravings, how to change the way I saw the world and food, and changed the way I looked at cravings entirely. And yeah, it was really, that 2 weeks was very hard, just like my first 2 weeks in teaching was. That 2 weeks of eating only potatoes was very hard, very challenging, but so eye-opening, and so much learning involved. So I think it was really important. And one of the biggest things I actually learned from that 2 weeks was that I didn't need more knowledge. Even all those years ago when I started getting really deep into nutrition and science and health and all of those sorts of things, I pretty much already knew everything I needed to know. You know, I already knew that donuts were bad. I already knew that family-sized cheesy pizzas were bad. I knew that Coca-Cola was a poor choice for me. There was all sorts of knowledge that I had, and I just wasn't able to put it into action. Yeah, I learned some more. I learned about whole food, plant-based eating. I learned about, you know, avoiding oil and processed foods and those sorts of things. So I did learn some things, but and some important information. I certainly did, but none of it was as important, even close to as important, as the unlearning that happened in that first 2 weeks and over the course of the rest of the year. You know, over my entire life, I had, and probably everyone watching as well, it's been drummed into us all these different ideas about what weight loss actually is, and it's always, you know, it's a deprivation thing. You have to eat less and you have to move more, and it's a torturous struggle in a lot of ways. You've got to be hungry all the time, and you've got to be tired all the time, and you've got to try to find the motivation and the time in your day to be able to fit in all this exercise, and you've got to tap into unlimited reserves of willpower to help you get through this challenge, and the list goes on, and these are all the things you've got to do. You've got to eat heaps of salads all the time. You've got to make complicated recipes with hard to find ingredients, and you've got to spend your Sunday afternoon meal prepping, and I could go on and on and on about all these things that we're taught that are just drilled into us over our whole lives, that in the end I did best when I let go of it all, and I just focused on that one thing. Eat potatoes, change my relationship with food, get better at the decision-making process. That's what it's all about. Just get better at the decision-making process, learn how to make good decisions, and learn how to choose the right foods. And it was that simple. But again, you know, we have to just take action, get into it, get started. And you will, once you get started, and once you realize that there's nothing more for you to learn about food. Well, maybe for some of you there is, and that's okay. But for a lot of you, there's not that much more to learn about food that's going to help you to finally take control and find that new life and that new health and the weight loss that you want. What you need to do is learn by doing rather than learn by reading and consuming. Learn by doing. Get into it. Get started. And, you know, try to use that to help you unlearn all of the stuff that's clogged up your brain and kept you confused over a long period of time. Unlearning is the thing that was much more important to me. Unlearning all of the stuff that held me back was much more important than learning all this new information. So there you go. I hope that's helpful. Try to get started on whatever it is you're trying to do, whether it's weight loss or, you know, starting a business or whatever it is that you're trying to do in your life. Remember that you're going to learn more by just getting started and doing it. And probably a lot of that learning is actually going to be unlearning. All the things you thought you needed to know, most of it you didn't really need to know. You need to actually let go of it. All right, I've talked enough now. Thanks everyone for watching. I hope that's helpful. Ask your questions below in the comments. Let me know what you think. Subscribe to SpudFit. There's a bell. I think you can click a bell or something to get notifications. Do that, like the video, all that sort of stuff. And eat simply and live fully.